Hola muchachos, buenos dias. So I want to make sure that you guys get some feedback on your midterm exam. And so as I was going through the midterm exam and hand grading that one question where you guys had to write the 6 sentences about Fedra and Bruno in their typical day, I also saw some other questions that were frequently missed by multiple students in the class. So these were kind of like our big ticket questions that I wanted to address that need to be addressed and explained in a little bit more detail, because these concepts are actually very much foundational concepts that are going to influence how well you do with ER and IR verbs, which we're learning this week, and how well you do with questions in Spanish, like forming and answering questions in Spanish, which we get to in Chapter 4 this semester. So the first question I noticed that quite a few of you guys missed was on the subject pronouns, and especially these two, the ustedes and the ellos. These are difficult for English speakers. You have to remember when we use subject pronouns, these are subjects, and subjects are divided into first person, second person, and third person. First person is when I talk about myself. I, singular, I do something, I buy milk, or I can talk about myself with other people, and then it's me plus other people, and that becomes plural. So me, Anna and I buy milk, or we buy milk, first person, because I include me. Second person is when you talk directly to somebody. That's when you're using you or y'all, right? So you buy milk, one person, or in the South, in South Carolina, you and Billy buy milk. You and Billy buy milk, y'all buy milk. Third person is when we talk about people, and that becomes he or she, singular, or they, plural. So he buys milk, or she buys milk, or if we have Billy and Jane buy milk, they buy milk. So what you have to remember is that los profesores, so if we're looking over here, number 2, los profesores, if we want to say the professors buy milk, we're not talking to the professors. We're talking about them. The professors buy milk. They buy the milk. So we have to use ellos for the professors because we're talking about them. Eso es tricky because y'all saw ustedes and you learned ustedes as formal, which it can be. But in Latin America, it can also be informal because in Latin America, they only use ustedes. So it can be formal and informal. It can be you all, very formal, addressing the administrative, members of Piedmont Technical College. Or it could be ustedes, y'all, me addressing all of y'all, my students. Okay? So then we have Jose y tú. That's Jose and you. Now I'm talking to you. But there's someone else included. It's Jose and you. So now it's plural. So I want Jose and you buy milk. Y'all buy milk. So that becomes second person. And that's when y'all have to use ustedes. So ustedes is second person. You can only use it when you're talking directly to somebody. And your clue here was the tú, right? Because it's a you. So I'm talking to you and somebody else. So there's our second person. This works with all of our verbs. This is how we conjugate verbs. All right. All right. Let's look at our next slide. Possessive adjectives. All right. This is going to, again, review the fact that ustedes actually means y'all. And it's going to help with questions as we move into Chapter 4 eventually. All right. So you have to ask a question. Remember, first of all, in this one, ustedes means y'all. Then you need to ask this question out loud in English. We have to do this with questions. ¿Cómo es la casa de ustedes? Which really translates to, what is y'all's house like? Then answer the question out loud in English in a complete sentence. if I ask y'all, what is y'all's house like? You'll have to say, our house is small. You wouldn't say my house is small because I asked about y'all, right? Maybe in class we have Billy and Jane, and Billy and Jane are in class and they're brother and sister, or husband and wife, whatever. They live in the same house. I say, what is y'all's house like? They're going to say, well, our house is small because it's plural. I asked in the plural, y'all. They have to answer in the plural, our. Okay, and nuestra means our. All right, same thing here, possessive adjectives. ¿De dónde son blank padres? Mis padres son mexicanos. All right, so where are your parents from? My parents are Mexican. Here you have to remember that parents in both the question and the answer are plural, padres. So whatever possessive adjective you pick also has to be plural. That should eliminate nuestra and tu right away. By process of elimination, you should only be able to choose between sus and mis. Well, mis is already in the answer. My parents are Mexicans. So the question is, from where are your parents? Now, don't be tricked here again. Tu, tus, su, sus can all mean your. Tu and tus is informal. Su and sus is formal, but they all mean your. They all mean your. So there's 4 ways to say your. Where are your parents from? But in this case, where you could make it informal, you could use tu or tus. Because padres are plural, it would have had to have been tus. But that's not one of your options over here. Un poco tricky, eh? So you had to go to your next option, which was the su or the sus, and you do have a sus. So this conversation is actually a formal conversation. All right. Last one, AR verbs. All right, muchachos, this is going to help you as you work with your ER and IR verbs that you're learning this particular chapter. You do not need to put an S or a son in front of any verb that you conjugate. You just simply conjugate the AR, ER, or IR verb that you are working with. So if we look right here, Fedra es trabaja. Basically, what a student wants to say here is Fedra is working. Okay? But that's not correct. We can't put an S in there with Spanish. We are just going to use the verb trabajar. And when you just use this verb trabajar and you conjugate it for Fedra, Fedra trabaja, it can translate into English 3 different ways. It can translate as Fedra works, Fedra is working, or Fedra will work. The is and the will are already included in that conjugation of the verb, right? Where we have to say is working. If they just say in Spanish, Fedra trabaja, it can be translated that way. So you don't need an es or a son to get that is or are in your answer, okay? See how the other sentences are correct. Fedra busca, we should have a bolígrafo because you got to tell me what she's looking for, because buscar literally translates as to look for, and then you got to give me the object. What is she looking for? Fedra habla por teléfono. Good. Fedra talks on the phone. Fedra is talking on the phone. Okay? Here at the bottom, Fedra y Bruno, make sure you conjugate your verb. It should be miran. All verbs have to be conjugated. All right? Conjugation is super important. So miran, we conjugate in English, we just don't talk about it because you'll do it in your sleep. Okay? Same thing over here. Fedra y Bruno. Remember that Fedra and Bruno are plural. There's 2 of them. We want to say they. It's saying ellos. Fedra and Bruno talk, they talk. So it needs to be hablan, right? Make it plural for them. Okay? All right, you guys, hopefully this will help. If you guys have any questions about this, just let me know. All right, chao. Que tengan un buen fin de semana y no, fin de semana, ya no. Que tengan una buena semana y feliz día de San Patricio. Espero que todos estén puestos con tu ropa verde. Que todos ustedes tengan puesto su ropa verde, All right, adiós.